Good evening, everyone. If you're at the doorway, please make your way down. There's plenty of seats in the front. No one ever likes to sit in the front, but there are plenty of seats up here. So thank you for joining us. I am Ruben Aurelio. I am the superintendent of Vallejo City Unified School District, and I'm glad you are here to participate in tonight's town hall regarding school closure and consolidation. So this evening is really critical as we discuss the future of our schools, our students, and our community. This meeting is part of our effort to ensure there's open communication and transparency as we navigate critical decisions for our schools. The information I will be sharing is all public information. It can be found on our district website. We have posted along the way all the meeting minutes and agenda items that got us to this point. Tomorrow evening, there is a board study session that is an open session that'll be at the district office that will continue the conversation with the trustees. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge the presence of our trustees. We do have a number of trustees in the room. If you can stand when I say your name. We have President Fox. We have Vice President Amboy. And we have Trustee Flores. I am also joined by district staff, and I see in the audience a number of our community and staff members. Thank you for being here. So the meeting tonight is really an opportunity to have a dialogue. You notice there are microphones set up. We are going to have an opportunity for the community to ask questions, give comments. We will do our very best to answer whatever question we can at the moment it's asked. However, sometimes questions take some research and time. We are going to be capturing every question that is brought to us, and we will make sure to post the answers on the website. So even if your question's not answered tonight, we will make sure we get that question answered. So to make this a successful meeting, it is important that we have some meeting norms. We want to be respectful in our communication, stay on topic, and ensure we provide everyone the opportunity they need to speak and share their thoughts. Next slide, please. Great. So our strategic plan guides the decisions we make. It's focused on 4 key pillars: equitable opportunities and equitable outcomes, safe and secure learning environments, vibrant culture and teaching and learning, and community-centered education. It is also the mission of the district to ensure that we meet our students and families where they are and to provide a high-quality, rich educational experience that seeks to elevate each student's potential and connect to each student's passion, providing a strong foundation for a productive and fulfilling future on the pathway of their choice. So these decisions we're discussing tonight align directly with these priorities. We want to ensure that every resource is maximized for student success. Next slide, please. So it's important to speak to what things we have done so far to support the thought of closing and consolidating schools. So part of this process is budget reductions. Closing a school is not going to fix our fiscal challenges. It is one measure in a group of many measures to get us to where we need to be. We know that school closures are always a very emotional and challenging decision, and when it's your child's school, it feels very personal, and we understand that. We also know that these decisions are not just about dollars and cents. These decisions are also coupled with trying to make our programs stronger and better for the students and for the community. So we factor all that into the decisions we're going to be making around which schools to consolidate or close. So the district is taking steps. We are looking at a budget reduction for the 25-26 school year. Last spring, the school board and the staff did acknowledge that there would need to be reductions in the 25-26 school year. At that point, they identified over $4.3 million in reductions. In the December 1st interim budget, which is when we recalculate the budget moving forward, it was determined that we need to find an additional $8 million in reductions on top of the 4.3 that was already identified. So we're looking at reductions that will impact the whole district, not just specific schools. So we continue to examine all of our programs, our services. We look at every piece of data we can find on how our students are performing, what programs are performing well, and we make decisions that are going to impact students in a positive way. We also look at, we can get to the next slide, a bit of our history when it comes to closures. So this is not the first time a superintendent has stood on a stage or spoke to a community about school closures. Vallejo City has seen their share of closures going back to 2003. This is a list of schools that have closed. Many of you might have some connection to one of these schools. The second column there, the sites, you can see the name. There are 10 schools listed going back to 2003. One thing to note that it was around 2003 when Vallejo City Unified School District went under state receivership. At that point, the district had to borrow $60 million from the state just to stay fiscally solvent. It was also at that time that an administrator was assigned to the district. The school board was stripped of power, right, the elected power that they have to have local control, and the state appointed an administrator. And that administrator was able to come in and make unilateral decisions about programs in schools. Now, over this time, we've seen a lot of change in Vallejo. We've seen a lot of change in enrollment, and it has made it necessary going into the 2010s, the teens, and the 2020s to close additional schools. Not every school on this list, not every school was sold or changed. Many of them became other school programs. Some became charter schools. Some were repurposed internally to be serving our students in other capacities. But this is the list that we are trying to learn from so that when we make these new decisions, we're really accounting for that. So this is a hard slide to see. I don't expect you to read everything on this list, but it shows the most recent timeline in this discussion topic of school closures and consolidation. Back in April of 2023, the board approved a company, Total School Solutions, to conduct what's called an equity impact analysis report. That report is a necessary step when considering closures of schools. So that report was conducted, it was presented to the school board, and along the way, there was direction given that we needed to focus and get a plan for potential school closures, and also consider what we do with the properties when we do close a school. So a 7-Eleven committee was formed, has nothing to do with the 7-Eleven store. 7-Eleven means a minimum of 7 people and the maximum 11. That 7-Eleven committee was formed this fall. It included a snapshot of different folks, community members, school people, administrators, and that committee was tasked with a decision to make and to create a report that was presented to the board. From that report came some recommendations. Some of those recommendations included school closures, consolidations, and also what to do with the properties if we did close. The recommendation was that we are allowed to designate properties as surplus. That gives the district the opportunity to do things like sell a property to generate revenue, convert a property for a different use, or do nothing with the property. That's also an option. Now we're at the point with the school board where we're asking the board to make a determination that'll impact our schools in 25-26. That timeline's really tight for us now. We have to make a decision in early February. And the reason for that, because when we make that decision, we have to ensure that we have plans for the impacted school and impacted community and students, and potentially impacted staff. Because when you close a school, you're shifting employees from one school to another. There are bumping rights. There are potentially lost jobs as well. So all those factors come into play. Next slide. So we're not alone. If you've watched any of the local news or heard any stories, you know that Vallejo City is not unique when it comes to declining enrollment. It is not unique to budget deficits and budget cuts. This is just a small list of California school districts who are having the same conversation we are having. And you can see it ranges from within the Bay Area all the way down to Southern California. The figure you see, figure 2, is pulled directly, this is enrollment in the state of California for the last 10 years. In 2014-15, there was over 6 million students in the state of California, K-12 public education. That has now dipped below 5.9 million students. That trend is not unique to the state. Our districts really mirror that trend. So factors that we are considering when it comes to closure and consolidation. So we had steady decline in enrollment. You will see in just a second a slide that shows specifically the Vallejo City enrollment for 10 years. In that 10-year span, we've lost over 5,000 students, which is a real significant loss. We talk about financial challenges. Less students means less dollars to utilize in operating school districts. Our funding is dependent on students attending school. We have campaigns. You've probably seen them this year. Show up. We really want our students in school because every day missed is funding that is not coming for us to continue programs. The community has shifted and changed. We know how difficult it is to rent and own homes. We know how that has impacted our communities. People have moved out of Vallejo. And we also want to make sure, if we do close any schools, that we have plans for that school or property. We want to ensure that if a school is moved, closed, changed, we won't leave properties unattended. Either they'll be reutilized to support our community in one way or another, or they're going to be used to generate revenue in the long term. Lastly, another factor is we want to make sure that our schools are competitive and performing at a high level. We've looked at everything from school size to class sizes. We've looked at programs that are so small, it's difficult to collaborate. We know that quality instruction is really critical, and part of that work is having colleagues that you can collaborate with. So all those are factors when we look at closing schools. This is our declining enrollment. So in 2014-15, 10 years ago, we had over 14,000 students. This year, 24-25, which is not on the slide, we have dipped below 9,000 students. This trend has continued. And right now, we have 19 schools serving these 9,000 students. That's significant. 19 schools is a lot of schools for that many students. We have school districts within the Bay Area that are similar size to us that have 12 to 13 schools. So part of that challenge is when you spread your resources across 19 schools, you're limited on what you can offer our students. So we'd see this as an opportunity to optimize the programs we offer. Financial challenges. So I talked about attendance and enrollment. It is a real factor for us. You've heard of ADA, that's average daily attendance. That is how the state distributes funding for our school district. On average, an individual student will generate roughly $13,000 to $16,000 per pupil for a year. That percentage, or their amount, goes down based on their attendance. So if we're generating $16,000 per student, but the attendance level is 90%, we don't get that $16,000. You get 90% of that $16,000. So that's why it's really important we continue to have these campaigns. We have employees that are hired specifically to help us improve our attendance, calling parents, visiting homes. All of that plays a role. Money follows students. So students who parents maybe decide Vallejo's not for me. I'm going to send my kid to Benicia. I'm going to send my kid to American Canyon. Those dollars follow those students. They don't stay here in Vallejo. Similarly, if they choose to join a charter school or go to a private school, those dollars do follow those students. So it's important that we factor that in. We want to make our schools attractive. We want to keep the families who choose to live in Vallejo and have them send their kids to our schools. One way to do that is to make sure our schools are improved. Another factor that is contributing to this is the end of pandemic relief money. So when we hit the pandemic, the federal government and state government sent a lot of funding to schools. And it was, big influx of money, but that money has now ended. We no longer get those additional dollars to add programming to our schools and classrooms. So if anybody who is hired using that type of funding, either we have to release them or we have to have additional funding from another pot of money to ensure that we keep those programs. There are programs that we like, that have done well, that were initially funded this way, that we've had to shift in our funding models to keep. So that has an impact. You might have heard back in August, it was a very proud and exciting moment, we made our last loan payment to the state. This is the loan that we took 20 years ago. That $60 million, we ended up paying back $68 million with the interest. Now that gives us some relief. But you gotta remember, when they took that loan out, we had about 14,000 to 15,000 students. So we've had to adjust. It's not that all of a sudden we have that extra money available. We're still adjusting to our enrollment. And like I said, spreading our resources across 19 schools feels very different than spreading resources to, say, 16 schools or 15 schools. And that's just the economy of scale. You can provide more per pupil when you consolidate some of those programs in schools. So these are just some of the factors that are impacting our district. And like I said, we're not alone. There's been a decrease in birth rates, and that's true for California. We've seen the housing prices increase, but the income hasn't increased to match. So houses get more expensive and people just can't keep up. We've also seen the increased cost of living. I went to the grocery store the other day to buy eggs. Have you seen the cost of eggs recently? A dozen eggs was almost $10. I don't know how people do it at this point. All these are factors. When we think of services we provide kids, just like those eggs cost more, everything costs more now. Everything, maintenance of buildings costs more. PG&E costs more. We've all seen it. I know, I feel it in my bill every month. So I know this is a very busy slide, but bear with me. The other factor, I talked about 19 schools and 9,000 students. We have a challenge with our capacity. The far column is the percentage of unused space. Now, I want to preface with that. Our schools do a tremendous job of using every space available to them. So it doesn't mean there's empty classrooms or nothing's happening. But when you go strictly by numbers, these are potential classrooms that could house students. When you factor that in, you can see we have a lot of space in our schools. As a district, we have 56% unutilized space. More than half. So if we have under 9,000 students, we could take in another 10,000 and not have to build a single school. We could double in size and we'd be fine with the schools that we have. The flip side of that is maintaining 19 schools when we're only at 44% capacity, that's difficult. That's very difficult. We've mentioned academic improvement and academic factors. This is some slides taken from the California dashboard. This is how schools across California are rated, essentially based on test scores, based on English learner progress, based on career indicators. There's also some that are not here, graduate rates, or graduation rates, attendance, chronic absenteeism, suspension rates. We know we're in a district that needs work. We have a strategic plan that we're working on putting into action to make sure that these slides where you see red and orange start shifting to yellow, green, and blue. And we want that for all our schools. We want that not just for the schools, for every group of students, regardless of race, gender, socioeconomics. We want to be the pride of this community. We don't want to give you any reason to send kids to Benicia, to Napa, to charter schools. That's the only way we keep growing is by improving on these numbers, and we know that. So this is a bit of the doom and gloom slide, and I'm sorry about that. But people have asked me, well, what happens if we do nothing? No one's holding a knife to me and saying you have to close the school. Not doing anything, I know teachers are going to look at me because it's a double negative. That is not an option for us. If we don't cut programs, if we don't reduce our overall spending, we're going to be back in state receivership. We will have to borrow money from the state. And right now, we get to control the decisions we make. We get to have these conversations to decide which school makes the most sense at this point to either consolidate or close. Under state receivership, that control is gone. The state assigns an administrator like they did back in 2003, 2004, and they come in and they unilaterally will close schools, will cut programs. That decision will not be ours any longer. So I stand here saying we can't do nothing. We can't continue business as usual because that will change the following year. So many of you are here because at one point or another you heard potentially the school you're connected to was being considered for something, either closure, consolidation, maybe receiving students. So this is the slide. You see 8 schools listed here. Now to be clear, not all of these 8 schools are being talked about closure. Some of these schools might be receiving students, but when we do the analysis, we're looking at the impact at all these schools. We're looking how, if we close one school, where do those students go? So you see Federal Terrace, and I listed there the student population. Federal Terrace has 222 students. Lincoln Elementary has 74 students. Loma Vista, 369. Mare Island, 426. Pennycook, 384. Solano Wiedemann, 605. Stephen Manor, 427. And Vallejo Charter has 368. All right? So these are the schools that we are having conversations about. Doesn't mean we're closing these schools, to be clear, but we have to factor everything in. We look at proximity, one school's proximity to another school, could they consolidate? We look at programs that are offered. We look at the impact. I mentioned really early on the equity impact analysis. That's a report that we have to do by a mandate. You know, we look at the racial makeup of a school. We look at the community it serves. We look at the socioeconomics of a school. All those are factors that we have to consider if we're going to close a school. Okay, you've heard enough of me. So we are going to give you all an opportunity. We have microphones set up on each side. We're going to be capturing the questions you ask or comments, and we want to be transparent with you and give you as much information as we can. I'm going to ask my cabinet members to join me on the stage in case there are questions I can't answer. Now, if you can make your way up, that'd be great. And then if people can line up at the microphones, we can go one at a time. We ask that you try to keep it to a minute. That way we can get as many questions in as possible. Oh, you okay? So don't be shy. Please come up. Okay, thank you. Please, first question or comment.
First, I want to thank President Fox for stopping that vote last time, because he also saw that 1 + 1 was not equaling 2 with the proposal from the last time. So first, it's that whole Lincoln thing. Something's not adding up right. There's 74 students at that school. They didn't make the chopping block. It's a TK through 2nd, but you have a TK through 8th grade school that's full, and that's what you're looking at getting rid of. Something's just not adding up right with that building. Let's move those 74 students, and maybe the district move to that building since it's so great and so safe for students. You got sex trafficking, you got prostitution, you got drug sales right outside the school. Those kids aren't safe. If you don't want to close it, maybe the district should move over there. I'm sure that's a lot cheaper than over at Mare Island. Also, our kids, oh, is my time up?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
You didn't?
Yeah, the timer.
I didn't know we had a timer. See, I lost my. And the districting, things are already wrong. Like I said the last time, I live off Broadway and Tuolumne. My daughter's school is supposed to be Federal Terrace. There's only one school bus that takes all those kids to Mare Island a day. The rest of us make sure our kids have regular transportation. There's no public transportation. We get our kids to the school. I don't, but Nana gets her there. What you're getting ready to do, and you're worried about enrollment, you're getting ready to lose a bunch of students. Because realistically, in my district, I have Caliber, that's in walking distance. I have Griffin, that's in walking distance. I have Elite and MIT, that's in my neighborhood. Cooper is up the street, but that's not my school district school to go to. So it's just things that don't make sense with this 1 + 1 = 2. We like our school, we're getting our kids there. Some of the enrollment issues, the kids are getting sick. Mine went back the first week, she had perfect attendance. By Saturday night, she had 104-degree temperature. I can't send her to school that way. These kids are just getting sick, they're young. Don't think about just money. Think about our education, and we're TK through 8. How are you going to put all those kids somewhere else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a little short. My name is Eva. Before I start the little thing that I wrote, I want to appreciate you guys said that we are not alone and that there's other districts going through the same thing, and I want to bring it to everyone's attention. Maybe it's time to change the system. It shouldn't be cutting school. Like Mom over there said, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. Closing a school, is there data that shows you closing school will bring up your enrollment? Is there data that shows us that just because we're consolidating school, we can bring more children and more families coming into the district? I would like to see that on a slide. Unfortunately, it wasn't given to us. And thank you, everyone. My name is Eva. I am the PTSA Board President for Mare Island Health and Fitness Academy. And more importantly, I am a parent of a 3rd grader who attends this school. I know that is a challenging discussion for us here tonight, and I appreciate your time. But me being here, I want to use my voice to voice for all the countless parents who believe that cutting school and budget and closing school is a decision that's far-reaching and detrimental consequences. I am here to fight for Mare Island Health and Fitness Academy, a school that has shown remarkable growth and resilience in the recent years. In my 3 years in the board president, in the PTSA board, I've witnessed firsthand progressive growth in our community. This year alone, we have gained more members than ever before, and we have raised record-breaking funds through just 3 events. This is a testament of our strength and finally our commitment and the dedications that our parents have, even though despite their busy schedules, they're showing up and supporting their school and their children and their children's community. Mare Island serves a diverse range of families from TK to 8th grade, making it a cornerstone for a lot of us. Knowing that other schools serving fewer families are not on the closure list, I urge the district to rethink Mare Island's position. During the last town hall meeting, I know there's even neighbors without children at the school voiced their support and expressed their opposition for our closure. The idea of turning our school, a vibrant hub of learning, into an empty lot on the island is unthinkable, and displacing our family and faculties without any guarantee that this situation will not repeat itself in the future, it's both heartbreaking and absurd to me. In the Parent Square communication recently sent from the district, you guys' mission state, meeting our students and families where they are and provide high quality, rich educational experience that seeks to elevate each student's potential and connect to each student's passion, providing a strong foundation for a productive and fulfilling future on the pathway of their choice. I asked you, how does closing school and consolidating them align with this mission? How does uprooting children from their community and providing a strong foundation for their future? These closures does not reflect high-quality educations or rich experiences, but rather cause social-emotional distress for the children, for the faculties, and all the upheaving families. The proposed for school closures and consolidations seems to prioritize solving financial equations and not prioritizing children and their well-being. This is not a reflection of a district with their children's best interests at heart. I really urge you to reconsider this discussion, and I hope that my time here tonight will contribute saving Mare Island from all the children. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Thompson. I am a parent and a teacher at Mare Island. And I want you to look beyond your slides. I want you to look beyond numbers and the percentage of students who came to class. I want you to look in our parking lot at 3 o'clock when I see parents who are communicating and supporting each other as they're learning English, as they're learning parenting skills, as they're checking in, hey, do you understand this homework? We have a community out at Mare Island, a safe community where our parents can hang out for a few minutes after school. And that community comes into the classroom when the parents are supporting the teachers. And maybe this parent can't support because they're working or have a small child at home, but they'll let another parent who does have that ability. Please, please look beyond your numbers for attendance. Look beyond your numbers for data and look at our community, that we are improving and we are working really hard to bring our students up as productive Vallejo citizens. Thank you.
My name is Catalina. I am a third grader at Stephen Manor. I'm here today to ask you not to close my school because my school is my family and I feel safe at my school. I love my school and my school loves me. I love the staff and the staff loves me. Please keep our school open. I love Stephen Manor.
Okay, so I have a two-part say. So the first part is going to be from me and the community members I spoke with. Then I have a second part that's going to be coming from Councilmember Gordon because she wasn't able to be here. So she asked me to come in and say something for her. So this ain't the first time that I have been up to the microphone with the same exact thing right before the pandemic. And, you know, in order for our community to get better, we have to be financially secure. We all understand that. Everybody understands that. Somebody's going to get an axe. Now, on a personal note, when the last axe happened, there were some gaps. And some of the gaps that lowered our population in our schools is the transportation gap. There's kids, well, let's say some of the options that are given to the kids to get to school, well, those people aren't going into those neighborhoods and picking up the kids. They're canceling the ride because they don't want to go over there. The kid just sits on the curb. So that's something that was brought to me, and that's all coming out of South Vallejo. Now, in order for this to work correctly, because when the last acts, Lincoln had 200 and something kids up in there. I remember the number. They're down to 74. Now, when this happens again, this is from me coming personally, we have to keep in mind better safety on our school campuses. Not only better safety, but we need to have secure campuses. No homeless people within the city rule of 1,000 feet, no graffiti, no fires. We don't want to end up like LA. No holes in the gates. So, as parents who come to school and see these things, they're out here because we all see it. It puts our kids in what I would call a safety mode or a survival mode, where they're not feeling comfortable enough at school to want to be there. Now, that's coming from me personally. You got to have something in place pre-acts that's going to ensure that we keep the kids and they don't decide to go other places. Now, Councilman Gordon, she wanted me to relay that the transportation part I already said, and that the safety around the schools, the same thing. And she was concerned about how the tax dollars will move across district lines. She wanted me to relay that to you. And that's about all I have to say, but I want everybody to remember that in order for us as a community to improve, we have to keep the one acronym I stand by, and that's the kids. K is for kindness, service intelligently, I is for intelligence, D is for diversity, and S is not only for safer schools, but more secure schools. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Paulina.
Good afternoon. My name is Paulina.
Soy madre de 6 hijos.
I am a mother of 6 children.
Entiendo como persona, los motivos por los cuales quieren cerrar las escuelas.
I understand as a person the motive behind why we want to close a school.
Pero como madre puedo entender más el corazón de mis hijos. Todos y cada uno de ellos me han salido de la Stefan Manor.
But as a mother, I can understand each of my child's hearts. Each of them came out of Stephen Manor.
El más grande de 25 años, la más pequeña de 7.
The oldest, 25 years old, and the youngest, 7 years old.
Ahora, desde que nos han estado dando los papeles que van a cerrar las escuelas,
Now that they have started to give us the flyers indicating that the schools are going to close,
durante pláticas con mis hijos, los más grandes han cuestionado el por qué. Yo no había podido asistir a las juntas por motivo de mis trabajos.
through conversations with my children, the oldest have started to inquire the why. I had not been able to attend these meetings due to my job.
No sabía qué decirles, pero mis hijos, teniendo todos los recuerdos que han tenido en la escuela, la más grande hizo el comentario, esto no puede ser, mi escuela no, y la más pequeña se puso a llorar.
I didn't know what to tell them, and when my children started to express about their memories, the oldest shared that this couldn't be happening, not her school, and at that moment, my youngest child started to cry.
Y ella solo dijo, al igual que mis hermanos, yo me quiero graduar de esta escuela.
And all that she said was that, just like her siblings, she wanted to graduate from that school.
Entonces me gustaría que ustedes tomaran en cuenta también el corazón de los niños, como madre de 6, como madre soltera y mamá sola y madre de cabeza de familia.
So, as a mother of 6, a single mom, and head of household, I would like for you all to also take into consideration the heart of the students.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Hi, my name is Irene Western. I'm a teacher at Mare Island Health and Fitness Academy, and I have a couple of questions on behalf of our staff. Has the district been working along with the city about getting a bus line out to the island? And then, well, let's do that question first. Have you worked on that? I believe there was talk of it in the years past, but there has never been a. Thanks, Mitch.
If I can get the microphone working. We've had a number of conversations with Soltrans, and Soltrans, like any other public agency, has issues pertaining to funding and ridership within the city of Vallejo. So we've had conversations, and they're an independent agency and they do what they are required to do given their funding.
Okay.
It's not-
That
so
would
the
allow students from other schools that may be potentially closed to make it to the island and provide transportation. Okay. And then the second one, if Mare Island were to be closed, do you have a proposed plan for the building? I know there were concerned island residents that didn't necessarily have kids there, but having a building set empty for any time at all. No.
No.
You use your teacher voice.
Could do that. Okay, here we go. So the Mare Island campus is unique. It is not owned by the district. It is leased to us by the federal government. And our lease is very specific. That building must remain a school. We can't repurpose it to be a district office, to be anything else. It needs to function as a school. So that is a factor we are considering. So we have full intention to keeping a school on Mare Island.
That's good news.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Regina Lewis, and while I was sitting here listening to everything, the thing that came up for me, which I haven't heard, no one's spoken about it, but I wanted to know, for the schools that you're deciding to close, sometimes there are children with special needs at these schools. So I want to know, for the parents who have had a hard time getting their children into schools, schools that are designed especially for them or schools that are integrated. Have you guys thought about what it'll do to the parents, the families, and the children especially who have a hard time socially anyway? I mean, is that something that's come up? Is that something anybody's thought about, or are you just doing schools from here to there, back and forth? My grandson especially has a special need, and he's been through a few schools. He's at a new school now, he's thriving. But to be moved back and forth around, whatever you're learning at that school, you got to start over. And it's hard enough for children without special needs. So have you guys considered that? And what is the plan for that?
Required to receive services that are identified in their IEP would impact programs. Programs might need to move.
Not working. It's glitching. You got a strong voice, right?
I do.
Just go with it.
So I can't speak to any particular program here, but all of our students, IEPs would have to be fully executed. That's our legal obligation. And programs that exist on campus would have to be maintained in order to continue to serve as IEPs. But again, yes, it might impact where that program is happening.
So is that considered, is that something that's taken into consideration while you're doing all this?
As part of the equity impact study, what programs existed in each of those schools was treated, because we have to consider where that program could go to make sure those students served.
It's on. I think it's on, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Martha Douglas. I'm a nursery at Mare Island School, and I have two grandchildren in the school. My understanding is there are 19 schools in the district. Is that correct? Correct. How are the 8 that are being considered for closing? How are they picked? How are they identified?
¿Cómo es que ustedes resultaron a esas escuelas?
That's a good question. So when we looked at specifically the 8 schools, now going back to that slide with the 8 schools, not all 8 schools are being considered for closure, just to be clear. Those 8 are schools that could be impacted by closing of schools. Some of those schools might receive additional students. So I just want to be clear about this. We're not saying that all 8 of these schools were considered for closure. Now, when we looked across our district as a whole, we looked at a variety of factors. Proximity to each other, schools that are next to each other. You see, for example, Solano, Wiedemann, and Loma Vista. They're right next door to each other. So when we think about consolidations, Pennycook and Stephan, those are near each other. We look at walkability. Can students walk a little further from one school to the next school? So those are all factors that we considered. We also looked at which schools could potentially generate revenue down the line. So if we close a campus, is that property a property that could be sold, for example, to bring in additional revenue, to fix our schools later down the line? The other factor that we look at is which of these schools have we used Measure S bond dollars on? Because that changes what we can do with a campus. If we've used bond money to fix a school, we can't sell that school. So there's a lot of, it's a really complex factor. These schools are not just pulled out of a hat. They're very specifically looked at, where they're at. We look at how many students attend the school that live within that neighborhood. We do a scatter plot. So if anyone's interested, those QR codes you see all along the walls will take you to a page where you can find all the agendas and the slide decks that the 7-Eleven committee looked at, where we looked at a Mare Island school. Where do the kids live that attend Mare Island School? On that school, in that residential neighborhood, there are 14 students who live in that residential neighborhood. The rest come in from other parts of Vallejo. Those are all considerations and factors when selecting schools. So geographic isolation is another one. If a school is like, for example, Patterson, out there by itself, takes care of a region. So there's a lot of factors that went into selecting schools.
Well, with that being said, there is one thing I'd like to add. Mare Island being TK through 8 is a lone soldier out there on this side, on that side of town. So I think that that's important also.
Yeah, thank you. Grade span is something we also consider as well.
Good evening. My name is Sophie Valdez. I was a past student at Mare Island. I promoted like 2 years ago. Now I'm a high school student in Vallejo High School. And I just wanted to come up here to talk about my experience in Mare Island because first I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day. I'm pretty sure you guys are really busy. And I just wanted to say how Mare Island was so much more than just a school to me. It was a lot like a community where whenever I was alone, whenever I'd spend the day alone, I could go to the office and I could just stay there with the staff members. They would talk to me, I would talk to them. We just sort of created a bond with each other. Not just that, but site safety, teachers like Miss Western, who was my homeroom teacher. She was strict, but we knew that she wanted what was best for us, and that's what made Mare Island such a good school to me, where it allowed me to be a 3.5 to 4.0 GPA student throughout the whole school year. Not only that, but also my little brother was right next to me. They skipped him a grade. He went from 4th grade to 5th grade, and it just shows the type of bond and the type of community it's been in there, how the teachers have treated us, how they look more to us as students, more like family, how you've heard other teachers, talk about look beyond the data, look more into how we feel about it. I want my little brother to experience what I experienced. I want my little brother to see what I experienced, to not just live such a closed mind that whenever you feel safe somewhere, it's going to get shut down because, oh, another school wants to be there, So, again, not just that, but they also help a lot of their special needs students, which I think is really important because most of the times I came from a past school where they would put a barrier in that line. And I noticed that Mare Island has always been really open with all of their students. I used to do also community work inside of that school where I'd go to first grade classrooms and I'd help the students there. And I build bonds with the little kids. So I would be really sad and upset to see the school go and not see the kids experience what I have experienced. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is EJ, and I have a 3rd grader at Stephen Manor. We moved to Vallejo about 4 years ago during the height of the pandemic, and I do have another daughter that graduated or went to Stephen Manor as well, and she's now in Hogan. And I don't know if it's taken in consideration that with the school, one school closing and kids are being put on different school. I don't know if staff will be enough for that school as well with all the kids that they're adding on to whatever school. Because from what I've heard, I'm just going to take this. My daughter goes to Hogan, and I know that they're so full over there. And it feels like there's not enough staff to look after all the children. And we're talking about, kindergarten here, 5th grade, 3rd grade. And will it be safe for them? I mean, emotionally, I'm just worried about, not a lot of supervision, comes trouble of, kids being bullied, fights, or whatever might be accidents because we don't have enough staff to be on that school, whatever, when it comes. So please, there's a lot of kids too at Stephen Manor, and we're just a bit worried. I'm a bit worried when I heard that one of them is being considered. So thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to say with regards to staffing, we will staff the schools in pretty much so the same manner. So we're not going to have a situation where we move students or move a school and not move the appropriate staffing ratio with those students. And so that is definitely the plan. Our staff belong to units, they're unions, and they have rights to positions. And so with as much certainty and planning as possible, we will make sure that the appropriate staff are assigned to the specific sites of need. That is not to say that we will not have any layoffs or reduction of staff, because certainly we know we will have some. But with regards to movement of students, we will make sure that the appropriate staff are assigned to supervise and teach and support students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Reyes, and I am a noon duty at Mare Island Health and Fitness Academy. I'm here to speak for my two kids, and I'm here to express how my daughter feels. She couldn't be here because she's homesick. And I will read what she wrote to me. She said, "Hello everyone, I want to express how I feel of my school, Mare Island Health and Fitness Academy. Me and my brother have been to this school for the 2 years now, and during those 2 years, me and my brother feel safe, and we have got very comfortable being in that school. Moving to a different school is rough because we were first at Federal Terrace, then they transferred us to Mare Island, so it was hard for them to make new friends, and it was hard for me to adjust for everything. So they're comfortable at our new school now, and it was rough for them, but Mare Island made me and my brother feel safe, and we soon got used to it. Mare Island is one of the best schools me and my brother have been in. We do lots of fun activities. We do PE. We have nice staff, good teachers, and lots of events like Christmas events, dancing programs, and lots of other fun things. Mare Island is an awesome school. I would love to stay in this school for as long as I can because all the teachers and staff make me feel safe and comfortable. Mare Island has many great things that they have mindfulness and opportunities, being in spelling bees. Mare Island is also such a safe and good school that I don't want this school to shut down because it's the best and and I feel safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope you consider us to stay and open school.
So before we get the next question, we have about 15 more minutes left for questions. I want to make sure if you have one or a comment that you have that opportunity.
Hi, good evening. Patricia Flores. Just lifelong resident of Vallejo. My son is enrolled over at Mare Island, so I'm just going to start with what I wrote about the school. Then I do have a question about some slides that you showed. So he's currently enrolled at Mare Island, that my actual 21-year-old graduated from as well. Mare Island is an exceptional school with remarkable teachers and staff. I'd like to specifically highlight the after-school program, which is invaluable to me as a working parent. Having access to a free after-school program is essential for my son's safety and development, allowing him to engage in sports and various activities until I'm able to pick him up. Additionally, the program dedicates the first hour to homework assistance. Recently, I had the pleasure of attending their first basketball game. The children thoroughly enjoyed themselves, and it was heartwarming to witness their enthusiasm during the 2 games that I watched. So I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank the coaches that were involved in that. So it was an awesome thing for them. I'm sure you have taken into account the impact that your decision will have on before and after school programs, ensuring their availability to all students at remaining campuses, transportation assistance for all students, and the dedicated teachers and staff that this could potentially put them out of work. Please also consider the additional students you might lose when parents confront the possibility of a school closure. Is there any information available regarding student retention from the last closure that Vallejo had to face in 2010? You showed a slide, there were about, 4 to 6 schools that were closed. Is there any data that backs that up, that shows that if I close or consolidate schools, this is going to help retain a student?
I'm going to look to the team. Is there data around that? Or, I don't think there's any specific data that shows that, but the one piece of slide that data that shows is if you look going back 10 years, our declining enrollment has continued, right? That's not necessarily based on school closure, but that's something that has an impact the district as a whole.
Okay. So I just also want to recognize the challenging position in which our board members find themselves in and extend my thoughts to you as you work towards making a decision. I came here to talk about what a great school Mare Island is and how much my son loves it. Please reconsider closing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Principal Glasgow.
Hello, VCUSD family. Something's just weighing on my heart, so I want to speak for my community and not from any bias perspective. For months, I have been bombarded with questions about what's going to happen, etc. And while I understand the business side of it, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. The two things that have been a resounding concern amongst my community is the safety that the island brings and how they feel comfortable and safe with their children there, and the community and the family that they have built amongst themselves. I do not for 1 second believe this is about saving a building, but it's about preserving the integrity of the education system that has been built there by the families. And so my question becomes, you just stated that it has to be used as a school facility. That may not be Mare Island Health and Fitness. I get that. But what is the feasibility or the probability that my community can stay in whatever school is then put there?
That is a great question. That is something we are considering as well. Options, priority around enrollment in schools that are either closed, any affected students, not just at Mare Island, but if there's a school that's closed, we try to prioritize where those students either remain or go. That would be something that we'd heavily consider.
Thank you.
I didn't hear that. What was that? Sure. There's no rule against it.
Hi, my name is Michelle Davis. My son attends here at Bethel and is an 11th grader. So confirming all this is just elementary schools, correct?
Yeah, we are not considering high school closures at this time.
Perfect. Okay, and then so I am so happy to hear that Mare Island has like this wonderful, beautiful school, and hearing from all these parents, that is what we need at all schools. It's not just the teachers, it's not just the staff, everything. It also begins at home. So I want to put that out there. It does begin at home. We got to get our kids up, get them ready for school, and make sure we help them with homework, everything. I'm an on-hands parent. Reach out to my son's teachers. They probably hate me, but I'm like dead hard on him. So, I mean, without them, without his IEP got canceled, but made sure he had a 504 plan because he does need assistance. That was hell, but I'm gonna try to stay on the upside. We might need more schools like Mare Island. It's away from violence. I'm pretty sure if I were that parent, if my son was still in elementary, he went to Vallejo Charter School. We then at the time had strong community. Miss Jackie's there. Like we all were close. We made sure our kids had like fundraisers, everything to keep the school going. So I want to say that. But I want to also ask, you said, I want to know How was it when when you closed John Davidson? Did that help any? How was it when you closed Beverly Hills? Did that help any? How about Franklin Junior High? Did that help any? Or Hogan, now it's a middle school. Elsa Wiedemann now is at Solano and is a K-8. Like, how is it consolidating and closing the schools going to help? Like, you're going to just keep closing, shutting down everything where we have like 2 schools because we only have like 200 kids in school now because they want to go out further to American Canyon, Benicia, and all that other stuff. You know, we want to make sure Vallejo stays alive. I'm all about Vallejo. I'm a Vallejo kid, so when John Davidson closed, I was kind of heartbroken, but it's an adult school, so I see it's being utilized, but I want to see it for our youngs because it is easier to raise a child than a grown man, so.
So, I don't know, is there anyone did you want to speak to any of the closures before? That was before my time. Trustee Fox, you want to? Come up to the mic.
Before I begin, though, I just want to say thank you very much for being here tonight. Your presence here means a great deal to us. Your voice, your input, we want to hear you. We need to hear you. These aren't easy decisions. They're not things we even want to talk about. When you're on a school board, you want to increase, not decrease. You want to add programs. You don't want to take away. So it's very painful. So 6 years ago when
President
I got
Fox, if I can have you, I know you want to talk to them, but the camera is facing your backside.
I'd rather see them, but
I know, but we're recording it so people can see it after as well.
To answer your question, 6 years ago when I got on, we closed 6 schools. 2 of the schools you talked about was Beverly Hills and Franklin. Today, Franklin is a partnership with GVRD that has a sports program for our youth. And we're hoping through grants and other things, those programs will even get more for arts, not just for sports. So we're partnering with GVRD, so Franklin has been repurposed. Beverly Hills Elementary was sold. That school now is a preschool and early intervention school for children within Solano County. So that also has a new great purpose helping very young students. And also to say there is data, students that left Beverly Hills that went to Glen Cove Elementary, our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, was there giving an award for the great reading progress that was made just a few months ago. So those are 2 examples of painful decisions of closing schools, but repurposing them for the community to benefit and still be utilized by the community in some positive way, trying to take a negative and try to make it a positive. I also wanted to talk a little bit about Mr. Clarence Martin that brought up points about safety. There's also something about 2x2. I don't know if you know about that. It's 2 school board members and 2 city council. And we meet once a month to talk about things where we need the partnership between the city of Vallejo to help our school district. We need that desperately. And I want to talk about 3 reasons we really need that. You talked about a lot of safety. We tried to get an ordinance for homeless encampments to be so many feet away from our schools, and that it didn't pass. We're going to keep trying to work on that to try to talk to the city council and the city manager to make sure there are safe zones of unhoused encampments from our schools. That's still a priority. Another one, we need more police presence. But as you know, Vallejo has been decreased police for years. We can't find enough police for our community. But we're going to try to keep working so that police can have a presence and the students can see them and they're available when we need them. Third, someone talked also about some of our schools, Sonoma Avenue, that there's people that walk around on the streets that we don't want to see by our schools. I bring that up on the 2x2 with our city council and our city manager. This needs to be addressed. It's not okay. As a school district, we can't control these things. We need the city of Vallejo to do their part as well in this partnership to keep our students safe. And we'll keep fighting for that. The other item is transportation. We've met with Soul Trans. We're going to continue to meet with Soul Trans to try to find out ways so students can get free passes or ways to get to school. Now, the very young students, that's probably not feasible. But for older students, hopefully it could be. So I hope I helped address some of your concerns. For teachers, as a teacher myself, no one wants combination classes where you have a second and third grade combo or a 4 or 5 combo where you have half the class in different grades. When schools are so small, unfortunately that happens. And when you can put schools together and combine them, instead of having one teacher at each grade level, if you have 2 or 3, the teachers can collaborate. And you don't have as many combination classes, so there's also a positive. And also, like Superintendent Aurelio said, programs. Your programs are stronger as well. So again, we're trying to look at the negatives that our state and other districts are facing with consolidating schools, closing schools, and how can we make the best to make it stronger? And in the outcome, try to bring as much positive as we can. But again, when you look at the slide of those schools, I want to be clear, I think there's some misunderstanding that I'm hearing in the audience. Some of those schools are schools just to receive students that are going to come to them. They're not going to be closed or consolidated. And we're also looking at a tiered system, maybe some next year, and then the following year continue with this discussion. So it's not all at once. Anyways, I hope that helped a little bit.
I appreciate that. But you might want to also check on your teachers, because if they don't get along with their students, they mark them absent. So that's part of the money.
Thank you.
And all jokes aside, that's no joke.
Sorry, it's me again. So one thing I would like to see is we can have transparency over what is going to happen with Mare Island. So on the 7-Eleven report, the report said that the school would be closed until these 3,000 houses that are not built and these kids that are non-existent would come. Even though we have live kids there now. But then at the last meeting, Vallejo Charter, there was a lot of parents at the meeting fighting. They didn't want to move to Mare Island. They didn't want to transfer to Mare Island. Now we got some potentials and maybe and what ifs. What is going to happen with Mare Island if Mare Island is closed? Is there going to be another school? Are we just a scapegoat to get us on the other side of the bridge? What is the real plan?
You guys ready? If Mare Island closes, there would be another school there. We would have to put another school there.
So the 7-Eleven report
That
was
recommendation
incorrect.
is being considered. Yes, the recommendation of the 7-Eleven committee, which was close Mare Island, move Vallejo Charter, is being considered.
Okay, so why wasn't that presented at the last meeting?
Which last meeting?
The last meeting where we stopped the vote, and they said it was going to be closed until the houses and the kids came.
Right, so you actually are leading me to the next slide, which is next steps.
Okay, so
Thank
this
you.
transparency is not working out this meeting so far.
Okay.
Because that's not what was presented with the 7-Eleven report.
Hi there.
Aloha. My name is Rebecca Pua. I am actually born and raised in this beautiful town of Vallejo that we live in. My father was transferred to Mare Island Shipyard and raised a family of 4 here. And we've been here for a very long time. I won't tell you my age. I just want to first of all, to the board, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being transparent. Letting us know what's really going on, and then also being able to communicate, collaborate with others here in the room, as well as friends and families at our schools. I just wanted to make a comment, and I just realized, and I appreciate the slides because I didn't realize that my daughter's school is on that list. And so I just have a comment to make regarding Pennycook Elementary School, a school that I went to school at. Hogan High. I was a Spartan, class of '89, and yeah, it's sad that it closed, but I'm grateful for my class, my reunion that I get to see and I get to talk with on Facebook and those types of things. But I really wanted to let you know that with Pennycook and Solano Wiedemann, both of those schools have this program at their school, and I'm not sure if you're aware of it. And it's a Leader in Me program. Why am I so nervous? Sorry, my legs are shaking. But that program is amazing, and it kind of like teaches these kids about morals and values, and how they can incorporate that in their daily lives. And I just love seeing that. We're a Christian family, and we raise our child with morals and values, and to be able to go to those schools and to learn those values and to bring that to their, when they're around their friends. And my daughter plays baseball with Vallejo Little League, and so, she incorporates those values and morals with her friends that she meets. And I just want to let you know that I love those schools. I think all these schools are amazing. And I hope that the decisions that you make that tonight, that we are speaking, we're vocalizing our thoughts and our feelings, and I hope that you really truly take these comments to your heart and really look at what is the need for our city of Vallejo, our beautiful city of Vallejo, a city that needs to continue to grow positivity, beauty, family, those things here in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move, looking at the clock, just to wrap some things up. If we can go to the next slide. As far as next steps, there is a board meeting tomorrow night. This is a board study session. So speaking about transparency, this is the opportunity for the 5 board members to have their follow-up discussions around school closures in the plan. So tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the district boardroom is the next meeting on school closure and consolidation. That is the board study session. The next regular board meeting is going to be on February 5th, and that's actually going to be at Mare Island Health and Fitness. So we hope you come out to that meeting. So that is Wednesday, February 5th. That is the next scheduled regular board meeting. It'll be at Mare Island Health and Fitness. Usually we're in the boardroom at the district office on Mare Island. We think we'll have a good turnout. We're going to have a lot of families there wanting to know what the next steps are, if any decisions are made. February 5th is our target for when those decisions will be made. So just so you're aware. Then finally, the next meeting after that, regular board meeting, is February 19th. Now these dates are really important because if a decision is made to close a school or consolidate a school, there are a lot of actions that need to take place. One, to support the families that are directly impacted, the students that are directly impacted, and the staff that's directly impacted. All of that has to happen. For our employees who are in the room, we've all heard of this March 15th deadline. That is a deadline. I look at Dr. Patrick. That's when we have to, no later than March 15th, we have to notify any employees who are impacted either by losing a job or having to move or change positions, all those things. So this timeline is tight for a decision. You heard President Fox mention the potential for different phases. This is phase 1. This is not, I don't want to stand here and say this, we're one and done. This is phase 1. School closures and consolidations will continue next year when we have to bring it up again after phase 1. There'll probably be a phase 2, and there could be potential for a phase 3, especially if we continue to see the declining enrollment year after year. Something has to change. And like I said, when people ask me how do you compete with, say, charter schools or compete with Benicia or Napa, we need to be better than them. That's how we compete. We need to make sure our community knows to support us and come to our schools. And everything I heard tonight just really reinforces that for me as the superintendent. There's a lot of pride in this room. There's a lot of pride in Vallejo, and there's people who we all want the same things. We want great school for our kids. And that is the ultimate goal. So I thank you for being here tonight. I thank you for being candid with us. These are tough, real tough decisions. And if you've been following me, you know, I started in July. These decisions had started before I arrived. I'm here to help lead us through these decisions and continue our progress in making better schools for our students. But this conversation, even though we might have a decision by February 5th, they will continue past February 5th. And I want to make sure you are aware of that. Do you have one last question? I see you standing there. I just want to make sure.
I do, and actually your little timeline cleared up some of the stuff. But
Okay.
After hearing all the parents and teachers, faculty, it feels like I appreciate you mentioning that student with special needs IEP is going to match and is going to be met. What about all the other students, their socio-emotional development or their feelings? Have you guys really put that in consideration? Especially, I'm an educator myself. Closing down any school is not going to be easy for any kid. My girl is a strong little third grader, but if you're telling her she can't see her friends and her teacher that she loved dearly, like after a 3-day weekend she's ready to go to school, have you guys think of those impact and how that will impact their next year's testing score, which what you guys also said on your first, I think, second slide, that your budget is based on academic achievement. Can we now actually start to focus on academic achievement once you shut down a school? Like 400 something plus students getting dispersed, I don't know if there will help with their test scores within the next 2 years, which will also bring down your fiscal budgets as well. So I mean, I want to see how much of the kids' social emotional development will be a consideration for any of the closing school. Like how many enrollment does that matter? Like 70, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be very selfish, 72 students versus 400 plus students. Like, are we moving them around? Especially if we, no matter what, Mare Island needs to be a school, that's part of your deed. Why are we shutting down a school just to make it another school? The feelings of those children. What are your plans of how the district can be better than Napa, better than, I'm gonna guarantee you, like a lot of parents are either gonna district transfer, bring them to whatever county that they work in, versus staying close to home because of this. I really want to know, not just a number, not just budgets. What was that one slide? Money comes with the student. Have social emotional development even cross anyone's mind and on their agenda?
Thank you. So like I said, I thank you all for this evening. Please drive safe. If you haven't scanned that QR code, they're all over. That way you can track and follow our discussion and see the materials we're putting out. You saw the upcoming meetings and when they're going to be held. Those are public meetings. You're very welcome to attend those meetings. Thank you.